We're going to be looking at the Enlightenment. It's the next chapter after the Age of Absolutism, which is going to lead to the Age of Revolutions. The Enlightenment was a belief put forward by philosophers that through the use of reason, people and governments could solve every social, political, and economic problem faced by humanity. Some of these philosophers are going to agree with having an absolute monarch, and some of the philosophers are not. They're going to look at how people are naturally, and what our rights are, and how the type of governments we should have. Thomas Hobbes is going to be your first philosopher. He's actually going to agree with having an absolute monarch because he argued that people are naturally cruel, greedy, and selfish. The flip side of that, though, is that a king or queen can actually be naturally cruel, greedy, and selfish and do things how they want to and not how the people want. But opinions have been shaped by living through the English Civil Wars. That's why he felt that way. And this is just quotes from his work that he published. And y'all can read over that. The next one, John Locke, very influential in the United States government that we have today. He argued that people are born as a blank slate and are basically reasonable and moral, and that people have certain natural rights, the right to life, liberty, and property. We use that same line, except we switch property to pursuit of happiness, and we put it in the Declaration of Independence. He was really the philosopher we used to help with shaping the foundation of the Declaration of Independence that we issued to Britain to eventually become the United States of America. He said people form governments to protect their natural rights, but those governments should be limited in power. The people do have a right to overthrow a government if it violates or fails to protect their natural rights. And that is exactly what we did. We overthrew the government of England, their absolute monarch, because we felt like they were abusing our rights. Well, they were taking away our rights, our natural rights, which was life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And these are some famous quotes that he wrote in the two treaties of government. Montesquieu, another influential person on our government, he said that in order for government to be fair and equal, that there should be three branches of government, and hence that's what we have today. We have the legislative, executive, and judicial branch. They are all equal in power. Not one is powerful than the other. President Obama is not powerful than the other two branches of government. He argued for separation of powers, and in order to have those separation of powers, that they need to check each other, make sure that not one of them are becoming too powerful. He studied the governments, and he did not like absolute monarchs. He criticized them, and that's why we use them a lot with shaping our government, because we are a democracy. And these are some famous quotes that he wrote. Diderot. He assembled a 27-volume encyclopedia. He believed people had a right to pursue truth and knowledge. His work was ruled dangerous by the French courts, and he was forced to publish in Russia. As an absolute monarch, you don't want people thinking for themselves. As a dictator, you don't want people thinking for themselves. You want them to follow how you like to rule. And these are some famous quotes that he came up with, or that he wrote. Voltaire. He fought for freedom of speech, which is our First Amendment right. He campaigned against corruption, religious intolerance. And religious intolerance means basically you're allowing everybody to worship as they like, whatever God they will like, whatever denomination, Catholic, Protestant. And he did not agree with the slave trade. He was imprisoned after offending the French monarchy and Catholic Church. He eventually was banished from France. And these are some of his quotes. Rousseau, another philosopher that we use a lot in the United States government, he believed that people were born good but were corrupted by society. He wanted a limited, freely elected government in which we have today a democracy. He believed that individuals are less important than the community, meaning that we give up some of our rights to be ruled. He called it a social contract. Example, we don't go as fast as we want to on the highway. We follow the speed limit because we want order. So we let our government rule over us. The same thing when you come to a school. You do give some of your rights to exist in school to get an education. And these are some of his quotes that he wrote. Bhattacharya, we're really not going to talk a lot about him. He did not believe that punishment should, he opposed the death penalty. He felt like it was hypocritical, so he didn't like an eye for an eye. He was like, if you killed someone, he just favored imprisonment. versus, you receiving the same punishment of what you did. And these are some of his quotes about punishment. Thomas Jefferson, one of our founding fathers, he is going to write the Declaration of Independence, again, the document that declares our independence from England. He argued for self-determination, or the right of a people to govern themselves rather than subject themselves to be ruled by outsiders, hence England. England was a small island on the other side of the world. He said it did not make any sense for them to rule 13 colonies. He did oppose slavery, but he himself owned hundreds of slaves. And these are some quotes, and we will look at the Declaration of Independence when we get to the Age of Revolutions. He was heavily influenced by the Enlightenment philosophers before him, John Locke, Rousseau, Montesquieu. And probably one of the first feminists, Mary Wollstonecraft. She wrote The Vindication of Rights of Man and Vindication of Rights of Woman. She argued for the abolition of monarchy and hereditary nobility. So she did not agree with absolute monarchs. She also argued that women are not inferior to men. They only appear so due to less access to education. At this time period, women did not go to school. They were seen as wives and mothers, and that women should have the same rights as men. Which in today's society, we do push that. And women are going to college, getting an education, and having some of the same jobs that males have out there. Mary Wollstonecraft is going to, these are some of her quotes. Outside responses. Government and church tried to suppress the Enlightenment through censorship and political oppression. Some Enlightenment despots used their power to bring about social and political change. So Frederick II, Catherine the Great of Russia, and Joseph II of Austria are all going to, they're not going to be stern absolute monarchs that are not going to, that ruled in that way. They are going to take some Enlightenment beliefs and put them within how they ruled their country. So they did agree with some of the things that they wrote about. Frederick II is going to have agricultural reforms. He is going to encourage religious tolerance. So he's going to let people worship whatever God they want to, whatever denomination. Catherine the Great of Russia is going to extend rights to the nobility and make small efforts to end serfdom. Joseph II of Austria is going to abolish serfdom and encourage religious tolerance also, even for Jews. And that concludes the lecture video. Sorry if you see me waving my hand trying to get kids not to come in the room. And that's it.